Welcome back, students. So today we are going to start the next unit of artificial intelligence, that is fourth unit. So in this unit we are discussing the concept of learning methods. So learning, basically this learning stands for machine learning. Here we are seeing the number of machine learning algorithms, and we are seeing the machine learning process, how this learning machine process will it divides into multiple process, and in that we are seeing some of those machine learning algorithms. So basically first we need to understand what is this learning refers to. So this learning is with context to machine learning, remember. Now this in this one what we have to discuss is we need to discuss the machine learning paradigms. Okay, so the learning first, if I say learning, everyone knows, everyone understands what is learning refers to. But the same thing, if I want to state in a statement, then there are various peoples who have stated learning into their own way, such as Herbert Simon has said that learning denotes changes in a system that enables the system to do the some tasks more efficiently the next time. For example, if I'm using learning with respect to machine, okay, if I'm using learning with respect to machine, so what happens is that because of this learning, the system get efficiently updated, and the system can do more tasks well compared to the machine status before having the learning strategies. So this is how something which was given by Herbert Simon. In the same way, Richard Michaels K has said that learning is constructing an idea or modifying representation of what is being experienced. I mean, what you have experienced and you don't want that thing had to happen further. That means you are actually trying to learn that how can you modify the existing representation, or how can you construct a new representation, so that uh, the problem of having I mean, whatever the problem, what the thing has been experienced, that has to be get overcome. So that is how something the process of learning stands for. Okay, so this is which is the second one. And here, and the last one, if you observe here, which is said by Marvin Minsky, what it says is learning is making useful changes in our minds. Okay, because for example, if I have learned something, then I can think in a different way, I can think in an effective way. Okay, I can think in a way where I can update something else. Okay, I can you know, my changes, my thoughts will become updated. Similarly here, this learning is with respect to the machine. That means we have to make the machine to learn. Okay, so that is how the process of machine learning stands for. Now, because as I said, this is about machine learning paradigm. So what is actually paradigms here? So paradigm is something like, as most of us know, is set of ideas. Okay, a set of ideas, or you, if you have any thoughts, or if you have any assumptions, so all these ideas or thoughts or assumptions are any of the particular value for an entity. So that using that ideas, using that thoughts or assumptions, you can what you can the way you can entity interacts with the environment. So that will be used to I mean, perform the interaction between the entity with an environment. That is how the paradigm refers to. But if I go this paradigm with respect to machine, because here the definition says that this paradigms we are using with respect to machine learning. So for machine learning in that in aspects, if I say, that means the policies, whatever the set of policies, okay, or else you can say assumptions, because paradigm is something is a set of ideas or assumptions. So here, in with respect to machine learning, we are using certain set of policies or assumption. Okay, how we are taking all these policies or assumptions, we are taking with respect to machine learning algorithms. That means any of the learning algorithm, machine learning algorithm, will give you some idea to implement the given input, as in a way that by that the machine can learn something else, something new thing from the given algorithm. So algorithm, machine learning algorithm is the you know, backbench of, I mean, is the main tool okay, is the main tool of machine learning process, because by that machine learning algorithm only it will tell that how it interacts with the input and the user. I mean, if you have given an input to the machine, then what the machine has to perform on the given input, on the data inputs, that will be performed by machine learning algorithm and will give you an appropriate output for that. So that is it, here it refers to. That means paradigm is something where the policies or assumptions inherited are provided by machine learning algorithms. So which is this paradigm refers to machine learning in this way. Now exactly what is machine learning? Because I just now said you many times machine learning, but what is exactly a machine learning? As I said you, machine learning is one subset of artificial intelligence. In the first unit itself only I have said you there are various subsets of AI, that is artificial intelligence. In that, machine learning is one of the subset of AI, okay, artificial intelligence. So which is mainly concerned about with the development of algorithm. That means as the algorithms has developed, so because of those algorithms which have been developed, by that algorithm only it allows the computer to learn from the data. Now we are not training the machine to learn. Okay, so sorry, we are not we are not saying the machine to obey in this way. We are developing algorithms in a way that by that machine itself will learn from the given data. How it will learns? By giving the algorithms. With the help of algorithms only, that computer, I mean the software which you are I mean you're developing on that, it can be to the computer, it can be a robot, something where the AI concept has been adopted. So at that in point, you have to use this process, machine learning. So basically machine learning is something which allows a computer to learn from the data and past experiences mean the history of the data, the how the given data has been formulated. So that past experiences will let machine to know that by how the process has to be executed. So this was actually been first introduced by Arthur Samuel, which is in the year 1959. Okay, so if I used to specify machine learning in a summarized way, then I can say that machine learning, which is very important part, because this question can be asked as a short answer question, define machine learning. So what it says is that it enables a machine. What it machine learning does? Machine learning enables a machine to automatically learn from data. We are not making machine to learn. Remember, first thing, we are making machine to automatically learn from the given data in the sense input data set. Data in the sense it will be in a data set format, and that is your input data. So the machine will automatically learn from the input data, and it improve performance also from experiences. That means if it selects particular data, how the output is getting, so based on that the performance can be improved from experiences. That means what happens for the number of times if it performs, so it will get that, okay, if I use this data for this context, I'm getting the output in that way. If I use that data in the other context, I'm getting that data. So based on that, prediction can happen, and based on that prediction, what happens, because of this, with the help of these predictions, it can improve the performance. What it does is it improves performance from experiences, means by taking the output, by taking the input and how the outputs are getting, so based on that is how the experiences it performs. So in that sense, the machine learning actually mean perform. That is the main that is an actual definition for machine learning. So as I said you that it will take the input data set and also the and also the previous history. Previous history means sample historical data. So it takes sample historical data, which is known as a training data. Remember. So what it takes? It takes training data. What it takes, the first thing is it takes training data, and it takes machine learning algorithms. So many machine learning algorithms will be there, so it will take any of the machine learning algorithms. So along with the help of machine learning algorithms and training data, it builds a mathematical model that helps in making prediction or decision. That's a very important point. So this mathematical model will tries to predict or decides without being explicitly programmed. That means generally in our programming, what we are doing, we are programming a particular code to behave to get the output in particular way. But here something, we are not programming any part. What we are doing is we are using the training, what we are doing is we are making machines to get to take the training data, and with the help of the machine learning algorithms, it builds a mathematical models. That model is actually used to predict or decide without being getting programmed, explicitly programmed. Explicit, who will program? We as a user will program. But here we are actually not responsible for deciding that which we have to. So we as a human has an natural intelligence, so by that only we can decide that okay, this has to be taken. But here machine has to do by its own. That is the main thing here. So machine learning brings computer science or stats, okay, together for creating predictive models. So because as you know, it is generating mathematical model. So this mathematical model means it takes the help of statistics, okay, along with computer science in the sense whatever the concepts, the machine learning algorithms, the training data sets are the part of your computer. So including both of this, it creates a predictive model, okay, predictive model which predicts the output of that. So for that purpose, machine learning constructs or uses the algorithms that learn from historical data. Historical data is also been responsible. So the more we will provide the information, the higher will be the performance. If you want machine learning to work in an optimum way, that means the amount of data set also should be get increases. In the way you can say that, you can say that in the way you can say that uh, what is that, the data set is proportional to the performance. That means the more number of data set you will provide, the more performance you will get. That's why it is directly proportional to the performance of the machine, okay. Because you know, if you, how can you say that it is directly proportional? Because the amount of data set, if you will provide more and more, so you may find that you will, they will get the more and more patterns to understand that how exactly the outputs are getting, okay. So why, by that the output which is getting will be very less erroneous in nature. So because of that, this, the amount of data set is directly proportional to what, the performance here. That means a machine has an ability to learn if it can improve its performance by gaining more data. It's simple as that, because what I said just now is the same thing here, okay. So now this, exactly how does machine learning actually works here? If I say simply that machine learning will learns from machine learning algorithms by giving training data set, which is your input data set. So but how it actually exists? So for that we need to understand that what are the things what it requires for machine learning. The first thing it requires is historical data, okay, and then it requires prediction models. What it requires? It requires prediction models. So it requires prediction models, and along with this prediction model, and whenever it receives new data, it predicts the output for it. That means for new data, it predicts the output by taking the historical data and by taking the machine learning algorithm as an input. So the accuracy of predicted output depends upon the amount of data. Just now I said you, that's the huge amount of data. The better it builds a better model to predict the output more accurately. In simple term, which I said you is that only, that it is directly proportional. That's it. So what you can observe here is that if you have an input pass data, okay, which is you can call as training data, which is data set actually, that is has taken as an input for machine learning algorithm. So now this machine learning algorithm will tries to learn from the given training data, and it will also receive the new data. For the new data we want an output, right? So for that, this machine learning algorithm will try to learn from the data, and based on that, based on the observation what the machine learning algorithm has been taken from the given data, it builds logical models on that. Okay, that means it implements logics on that. So based on the logics, whatever you have implemented for the given data, you will get the output for that. So a new data you will get here. So this new data will actually act as an output for the given input. So in this way, the machine learning actually works here. So what is important here is the machine learning algorithms are important. Okay. So now if I say machine learning algorithms, but this machine learning algorithms are being used in different classifications. For example, like the machine learning has been classified into broadly into three types. What is that? The first is supervised learning, and the next thing unsupervised learning, and the third is unreinforcement learning. So this all these three processes are being used for machine learning, for performing machine learning algorithms. So that means any machine learning algorithms, either it can be a part of supervised learning, either it can be a part of unsupervised learning, or it can be a part of reinforcement learning. So what we need to understand is the algorithms are being based on any of these three classification. Now we need to understand what is the supervised learning is refers to. Supervised learning, supervised means supervision of ourselves as a user. We as a user, if we supervise machine to learn in a way, then is how something supervised learning. But we need to understand in depth what exactly the supervised learning refers to. Supervised learning is a method of machine learning. What we are taking is that we are taking sample data. See, data set we are giving as an input, right? So the main thing is what we are giving is we are giving labeled data. Okay, what we are taking here is we are taking labeled data. That is very important here. The first thing is about getting labeled data to the machine learning in order to train. Labeled data means whatever the data set has been there, there is a specific category, there is a specific labeling has been provided for the given data. Okay, so the data set is your labeled data, and after that, what is the next thing is that the system creates a model using this labeled data to understand the data sets. That means that means the machine can understand the data sets easily because it is labeled data, so that machine doesn't have to give more uh, um, effort to understand what type of data it is, because there is no need of giving effort by a machine to understand in depth about the data, because already the data is a labeled data, and that by that data sets it will learn about each data, because in data set it contains group of data. So we need to that machine has to understand each data. Once the training and the processing are done, so this processing or training will be done where? Will be done in machine learning algorithm. So this machine learning algorithm is again of supervised learning, remember that too. And this are done, and then we need to test the model by providing a sample data. How can you say that exactly what you got the output is that? We have to give a sample data as an input, and we need to check whether we are getting the exact output or not. Okay, if you are getting that exact output, or if you are getting the exact output, that means that has been performed successfully. If you are not getting that, you have to find out that what are the problems, I mean how you can overcome the problems here. So that is the reason here is that the goal of supervised learning is to map input data with output data. Simple thing. There will be an input data will be given, and there will be an output data. That means you have to map the input data to output data, and that output data is actually a data for the given input set data set. So the supervised learning is based on supervision, because that's why the name has been given supervision. And it is, for example, when a student learns things in the supervision of teacher. So if any problem will occur, then teacher will help supervise the student. So here also the same thing, what happens is that the given data sets, okay, will be in a labeled data set that acts as like a supervision for the given for the given algorithm, I mean for the given data set. So the example of supervised learning is something spam filtering. How can it perform spam filtering? So spam filtering means based on that it have an input labeled data. So based on that whether it's a spam or not, okay, So categories has been divided. So based on that categories, it is easy to understand that the given email from the previous historical data, for example, the mails which are not in spam, so they may know that what are the types of email IDs are there by which we are getting the email. So it is getting easy for the machine to understand that the given email is a spam or not. So that's why spam filtering is a process of supervised learning. Okay. And here in supervised learning, again it will be divided into two categories. What is that? It has first is classification and the second is regression. So what is this classification refers to? Okay, because in supervised again this is two process, right? So we need to understand what is the classification. Classification, as you know by the name itself, that it is something which you are categorizing the anything. So as you are performing classification process on data, on a set of data or data set, so what you have to do is we have to categorize the set of data into some classes. Each class some contains some one category, one belongs to one category of data. So this can be performed on both as well, because it is performed on structured as well as unstructured data. Okay, you know the difference between structured and unstructured, right? So structure which is in sequential way, which is in an order way, that is all structure. Unstructured data, you can have something like images, okay, which you have where the data will not be in a structured way. That is how something unstructured data. So this classification process will perform in both the way. I mean, you can get the data for structured as well as for unstructured form of data. So what it does with this classification is that this process starts with predicting the classes. I mean, for the given data set is there, so we have to categorize the data in multiple classes, so that predicting of the classes will be done by of some data points will be there. So this classes on which the data has been divided are often referred as targets. What they are referred as? They are referred as targets, they are referred as labels, or else they are referred as categories. That means for a given data set, you can have multiple categories of data, or you can say the multiple labels of data, or you can say multiple targets of data, because this classes names are in this way. So this is how the classification process. So the classification predictive model, because something here, whatever we are doing is something we are predicting here. Even the output what I am getting is just how the machine is predicting that the so and so output you will get for the given sample input data. So that's why you can term this as predictive modeling. So this is the process where the task of approximating the mapping function, because here we are performing mapping function. What mapping function will tell us? It will take the input variables, okay, and it will give you the discrete output variables. What it will give you? It will give you the discrete output variable. So what is the main goal of the classification is, here if I refer this, the goal of the classification is to identify the given data which it belongs to, I mean which class or which category the new data will fall into. Based on that, it is easy to categorize them. For example, there is one example here, heart disease detection is there. Heart disease is a one type of I mean is a disease, right? But deduction means either you can identify, can be identified as a classification problem. How can you say that this problem has been classified as a classification problem? Because this is something binary classification. Binary classification in the sense you may have just only two options, whether you can say that a person is suffering from heart disease or else the person is not suffering from heart disease. So that's why there are two classes. The one class says that a person has heart disease and the other class says doesn't have any heart disease. So the classifier, okay, who classifies the data needs training data. I mean, how can a machine understand that the given person history will let us know that the given person is suffering from heart disease? How? By taking the training data. By the training data, it will understand how the samples are there for the given person. If it is suffering from so and so problem, if the blood test reports are showing this values, so there is a probability that the person might suffer from this one. So all of this, so by the training data only, the given input variables, I mean the person's informations, it will relate to any of the class, that the class is as either the something the person is suffering from heart disease or else the person is not suffering from heart disease. So because of that only I said you, if you give more number of data, also if you give diverse, if you give diverse data means with all of the combinations of data, with all of the case history, with all ages. Okay, a person, for example, heart disease, if you are providing the information for all the age groups. Okay, because for example, if you have given the information of more than 60 years age groups, but you have not given the information of less than 60 years age group, but what if the given sample data is around 40 years of age? So the given data which you are given is greater than 60. So it will not give you an exact data. So the amount of data, also the type of data, also the category, I mean the intent of the data should be more, so that it covers all the categories of ages, so that we can so that the machine can understand the logic here, and it go logical conclusion should be there, so that logical conclusion will give the binary classification for the given problem. So in this way the classification problem works here. So that's why this classification is type of supervised learning. Even the targets are also provided with the input data. Because why it is supervised? Because in supervised learning, remember, you will be given input data and you will be given the target. You have to decide, the machine has to decide whether the person is suffering from heart disease or not. That means the machine knows, the machine gets the exact input data, that is labeled data. First thing is labeled data, and the next thing is that the machine gets the output also, that the output should be either the person is suffering from heart disease or else the person is not suffering from heart disease. So that means the machine also gets the output data as well. So all this, if input data has been given, if output data, so it is a kind of supervised learning. So that's why this classification is a type of supervised learning. So there are various algorithms by which this classification process performs. Here there are decision tree classifiers, support vector machines, naive Bayes classifiers, k nearest neighbor, artificial neural networks. So as and when you are in your for your syllabus, what we are concentrating is, we are concentrating on only on decision trees and artificial neural networks. Okay. So now the next method about supervised learning is regression process. So regression algorithm, see, classification, we are classifying the data by into different classes, but regression algorithm is attempt to estimate the mapping function. Here we are taking mapping function. I mean, for example, if we have given input variable x, from input variable x we have given, we have to map the function to a numerical value or continuous output value. That means the output should be in a number based. What will be the output? The output should be either an integer value, the output should be, can be either a floating value. Okay, that means it can be, it should be a real value. Okay, so output should be a real value here, whatever the input you are giving, but the output should be a real value. So this regression prediction problems are usually takes input as quantities or sizes. What it takes? It will takes input as quantities or size. For example, there is an example here in regression. For example, you have given an input of data set about houses, homes. So houses means quantities are there. So there are 10 houses or 15 houses data. So quantities has been given, and in each house there will be size, right? For room the sizes will be there, for the place sizes. So the inputs are will be given as a quantities or sizes, and what you have to ask, what the output it should be, they are asking you to predict their prices based on the given data set of the houses. The machine needs to predict the prices of the houses. Prices in the sense, again, values. So values, it can be mostly integer only. Okay, so that integer value it has to predict. So this regression process will perform in that way. So because the prices will be a continuous output. Okay, continuous output means it will be in changing one. Okay, one day the output will be differ. So based on the some methods, the output can change. So the output, it will be in a continuous form, so you can get continuous output as well. So in that way regression process will perform. So in this regression process, again we have lots of machine learning algorithms such as linear regression, logistic regression, regression decision trees, and artificial neural networks. So in that we are just covering decision trees and artificial neural networks for our syllabus. Now this is regarding supervised learning. which we have seen. The next learning which is about is unsupervised learning. Now, the second is unsupervised learning. So in unsupervised learning, what is this unsupervised indicates that there is no supervision at all. How can you say that there no supervision means the training data sets is a raw data. Raw data means unlabeled data. That's very important point here. What does this means? It uses unlabeled data. In the unlabeled data, in supervised learning we have a labeled data, but in unsupervised learning we have unlabeled data, which is, you can say, as raw data. There is no specific data set we have, and the machine also don't know what input has been given, and machine also don't know what output has to generate. Okay, so here the complexity is more when you compare with supervised learning, because this is how something, a kind of machine learning process in which models are trained with unlabeled data sets. So unlabeled data is there, and there is no supervision at all. So what happens is that you cannot directly apply the regression or classification problem. Why we are not performing classification process? Because we don't know what kind of data it is. How can you classify the given input? So that's why classification doesn't exist. And you don't know what kind of output you should get. So regression is something which it will give you an integer value, or you will get you a real numbers. So here also, that's why you cannot apply regression or classification problem for unsupervised learning, unlike which you have performed in supervised learning. So here we have the input data, but there is no corresponding output data. There I have said you, for heart disease, we know the output, either the person is suffering from heart disease, either the person is not suffering from heart disease. Any one of that information needs to get. But here the machine doesn't know what type of output or what corresponding output it should get for the given corresponding input data. So for that purpose only, the goal of unsupervised learning is to find the structure first, as the data set is unlabeled data set. Here it is unlabeled. So first the unsupervised learning is to understand what type of the data set is. So in order to understand the how the data set is, that we need the machine needs to understand the structure. I mean, first it is what type of data set it is. So by that, first the structure of a data set has to understand. Then that after understanding the structure, then there will be a grouping process will be there. So that will be grouped according to their similarities. And after that, it represent that data set in a compressed format. So in that sense, this unsupervised learning works here. For example, like unsupervised learning algorithm is an given input data sets. So if we have an images, okay, it contains images, and if that images is of cats and dogs are there, right? Here if you take this example, like the given input data is how something which is raw data, which is unlabeled data, there is no specific name. No, what is the unsupervised learning process has to do is, it takes the input as an images of all of this animals. Now the machine has to understand, interpret. Next, second process is interpretation. So this interpretation, machine has to interpret that based on the sizes, based on the shape, that what type of animals they are. So by that they need to categorize them. Okay, so how they need to, by their shapes, they need to understand that by this looks like a dog and this looks like a cat. So this algorithm will get that interpreted data, and it process that data, and finally the output you will get in a form where the dogs has been put in one group and cat has been put into one group. That means here you are taking a cluster of similar animals. So dog, you're taking a cluster, cat, you're taking a cluster, and input data is also a cluster of unlabeled data. So here you're performing the clustering process. So anyhow we will see that. So this is how something unsupervised learning will perform, is that it takes the clustering the image data set. So what this is your image data set. So you need to get cluster into the groups. So here it has formed a cluster of dogs and it has formed a cluster of cats. So that has been performed here. So what basically unsupervised learning it does is that it categorizes into two types of problems. So clustering, because just now we have seen an example of clustering here. So clustering, what is the clustering process in unsupervised learning? So clustering is how something is a method of grouping the objects into clusters. such that with most similarities remains into a group and has less or no similarities with objects of another group. So here this dog cluster has been formed because they have looks very similar. Okay, and this cats has been formed with a cluster because they are similar. Okay, it should be more similar. Sometimes similarity will be less. So if the similarity is it has to cluster in a way that the more similarity it has to form. Okay. So here what happens, this cluster analysis find the commonalities. Commonalities means what are the common parts, what are the common term, what are the common things are there in the data set that has to take into data objects, and they has to categorize as per their presence and absence of their commonalities. Okay, so dogs and cats has been categorized in that aspect only. So this is how something clustering process. Similarly, we have a next process called as association process. So this association process is also an unsupervised learning. So association process means here we are finding the relation between the variables of large database. The first thing is that in association, large database has been taken. For example, if you take an example, if you buy an X item. Now, for example, the X item is a bread. As you know, if a person is buying a bread, ultimately person will try to buy a butter or a jam, because this bread is related to butter and jam, because naturally this are being associated with each other. Because if any person buys bread, ultimately the person can buy it. I'm not saying it's sure for that, but it is that there is a chance that the person buys butter and jam. So now this X item is associated with Y item. Okay, so this association means the relationship between them. This relationship we need to find out between their items, and we need to associate them. So this by this they forms a group of associated items. Okay, so this bread and butter jam will come into one categories here. Similarly, so this is an example of market basket analysis or market based analysis. Okay, where a person buys a particular product, based on that any other products are there which are related with that, on that also you may find this. Naturally, in for example, like mostly in if you observe here in your Flipkart or Amazon also, whenever you buy a mobile phone, naturally what happens, um, there will be a suggestion that you have to buy a backpack of the mobile back cover of the mobile phone. So you know, whenever a person buys that particular handset, so it will give you a associated item as a in like as a recommendation that you have to buy as this also combo pack, they will say you something like that, right? So so this is kind of association, right? Okay, because the machine knows that this pack is just used for a particular model of a phone, so that means that pack only has to be taken. So the most buyed that mobile covers will be given as a preference to that. So this is how one thing, association example. So in that way, not only this, there are various other examples. So everywhere you can find that something or the other machine learning algorithms are being adopted there. So this is how regarding association and clustering. So in this one, we have many unsupervised learning algorithms. So you can find that K means clustering, K nearest neighbors, hierarchical clustering, because here what we are doing is we are performing clustering but in another way. Okay, that clustering what we have learning in this one. Okay, this is a broad way, right? This is the broad way, but in clustering, if I want to perform in a other way, means if I want to perform in a specific way, then there are various algorithms such as K means are there, K nearest neighbors are there, hierarchical clustering, so many are there. So all of these are what the algorithms for unsupervised learning. So this is how regarding the unsupervised learning. So the next learning is reinforcement learning. So this reinforced learning we will see after completion of artificial neural networks. Okay, so we will learn that also. But now we will want to go with the next concept, which is inductive learning. So what is this inductive learning algorithm? So this inductive learning algorithm So this inductive learning algorithm, simply you can term them as ILA. So which is an iterative. First thing is that it is iterative, means repetitive process, and here other thing is that it uses inductive machine learning algorithm. So what is this inductive machine learning algorithm? We will see now, which is used for generating a set of classification rule. I mean, for many example, there should be a common general rule. How can you evaluate that general rule? By taking the inferences from the given example. That means you have to induce a general rule from the given set of examples. That's why you can term as inductive learning. So if there are set of examples are being given, and every set of examples you have to perform at each iteration, okay, and based on that you have to take that rule into if then form. What is this? Very important. You have to use if then form, and this if then form will be used for each and every example, and based on that you have to get the general rule for that. So initially what we are doing is, for example, for any input x which is a verified value, that means it's just to be a correct one for the given function f, that means f of x, right, is your output. So that f of x will give you some value, okay, and again what we have to do is we have to take for another input like x1, you need to get a value called f of x1, and then again you need to get for another input x2, you need to get the output as f of x2, so that from f of x to f of xn, because if you are performing for n number of examples, so for that f of xn, what you have to get is, by using those outputs, output in the sense, what you have to use? You have to use these functions like f of x1, f of x2. So all these output functions are being used to generate a rule, which is a common rule, okay, which is a common rule for that. So that is what we are performing here. So that means there are basically two methods for knowledge extraction. Firstly from domain experts. So domain experts we have already seen, okay, in the third unit, okay. Now what we are seeing is, in this unit we are seeing with machine learning. So for very large amount of data, what we have to do is, the domain experts are not very useful and reliable. So what we are doing, why? Because if you have large amount of data, so domain expert will not be useful, because the amount of data is there. So machine perform, if the algorithm perfectly suits for that, even if you take a large amount of data, still it performs in that way only. So for that purpose we are using machine learning approach whenever we have a large amount of data. So for that purpose we are using machine learning. So one method is, in machine learning, is to replicate the expert logic, because in domain expert we are using expert logic. So here we are using, instead of expert logic, we are using algorithms. Expert system we have seen in the third unit, right? In third unit we have seen experts. In expert system it is using experts. Logics will be given as a value, and their inference engine will take that value and infer from the given for the given input. But here, instead of expert logic, we are taking an algorithm. So that algorithm will be used to work accordingly. So but this work is very tedious, because if I use the first method, which is how something is a very tedious or expensive. So what we are doing is, here we are using inductive algorithm. In inductive algorithm it's simple. It takes the set of examples, and based on that it will set a rule for the given example. If this kind of things will happen, then this kind of output it will generate, okay. So anyhow, while giving example, you will come to know, you will understand that how this inductive learning actually works here. So that is why this inductive learning is termed as discovery learning. Okay, discovery learning means you are discovering one a common rule for all of the examples. So where the learner discovers rule by observing examples. So all the examples are input for that, and based on that it gets the general rule. So we can often work out rules for ourselves by observing examples. So we we can also get that, but here the machine has to do. So if there is a pattern, so that pattern has to be traced by that algorithm, and using that pattern only it has to record and it has to get the general rule. So we can apply that rule in different situation, not only for that example, for other situation as well, if it matches for that. So with inductive learning, what language learning, the tasks, whatever the tasks are there, are being divided, or you can say are designed first, for it has to be designed to guide the learner and assist them in discovering a rule. That means the ultimate goal is to discover a rule, to get the rule as an output. So discovering a rule is your output for the inductive learning. If you understand this example, you will get a more clarity. What is this is that, because I said you inductive learning is something where the system tries to make a general rule. So general from a set of observed instances means examples. For example, there is an input called mango, and upon performing a function of f of mango, it gives us an output is that the given mango fruit is sweet. And again there is another set of example, banana. Okay, so we are performing f of banana as a function and we are getting as an output as sweet. Okay, so on up to if you take any other fruits also. So if you are getting as sweet as an output, so what you can get the general rule that whenever the input is fruits, upon performing a function on fruits, you will get always the output as sweet. So this is your general rule. So this general rule has been inducted, has been derived, has been observed, has been taken from the given set of instances, from the given set of examples. So in this way it works here. Okay, so by this the machine understands that, okay, whenever the input are fruits, so the fruits means it will give you the taste of the fruit is in sweet. That you can say that the fruits are sweety or sweet. So there is another example also. Now this is example. Here what we have taken is we have taken some attributes here, such as place type is there, weather is there, location is there, and decision is there. So now what we have to do, our task is to generate a set of rules that under what condition what is the decision. Okay, I mean the decision is in binary form, either the decision is yes, either the decision is no. So we need to check that for the given set of example, given set of data set, this is your data set. Now if I upon performing inductive learning, what I have to do is I have to generate a set of rules. At what attribute what is the decision? I mean if I take a weather is winter, if what is will be the decision? Okay, if the place is Kullu, or if the place is Shimla, or if the place is Goa, or if the place is Mumbai, what will be the decision, whether it needs to be yes or no? So that has to be taken with the set of examples. So this is how the set of example we have taken, and now what we are doing is we are performing this set into two subsets, that is subset 1 and subset 2. And how this subset 1 and subset 2 has been divided, this has been, if you observe in subset 1, all the decision are yes, and if you observe in the subset 2, all the decision are no. That means in the given set, wherever the decision S is there, we have taken in subset 1, and wherever the decision is no, we have taken in subset 2. So now we have taken subset 1 as a one subset where the decision is yes, and where I have taken a subset 2 where the decision is no. Now in this one, what I have to do in the is that I have to take what? I have to take here some attributes. So for example, at iteration 1 for the first time, because here iteratively you have to perform, if you observed row 3 and row 4, weather is selected. Okay, this is row 3 and row 4, weather is selected, because if I select the weather is warm, okay, because the warm is only available in subset 1, because in subset 2 the weather is windy. Okay, but in subset 1 only the weather is warm is present in only subset 1, and whenever we selected weather as warm, the decision is yes. So by that, what we have taken for the first step at iteration 1, if weather is warm, then a decision is yes. So this is how what we have taken. We have taken what? We have taken here one rule, and this, the rule is added to rule set. Capital R means rule set. Rule set is how the group of all the rules. So that's why I represent them as in capital R. So what this first rule has been taken, that in at the row 3 and row 4, because as it is warm, so it is getting the decision S. So simply you can say that if the weather is warm, then a decision is yes. Now in the second iteration, if you observe in row 1, okay, row 1 is this row 1, right, in subset 1. So if you observe, place type is selected. Why place type is selected? Because if you observe, the weather is winter. So the winter is available only for the row 1. The winter is not available in any of the other rows. So what you can say, that if the weather is winter, then decision is yes. Simple, because there is no ambiguity. There is no condition that if the winter is available yes, and in some way if the winter is there, the decision is no, means there will be a problem. But only the winter is available here and the decision is yes. So what you can say is that if a place type, okay, yeah, winter also you can take, or else you can take hilly, anything. You can take winter also, you can take hilly, because hilly is also available only at this row 1. Okay, so you can take either this one. If place type is hilly, then the decision is yes, or else if the weather is winter, because you can find that winter is not available anywhere else. Okay, so like that you can take here. If the place type is hilly also you can take that, then the decision is yes, or else if the weather is winter also you can take, the decision is yes. Now if you observe in the row 2, here in the row 2 location is selected. Now if you find Shimla is just present in row 2, Shimla is not present in any other rows. So what you can infer is that if the location is Shimla, then decision is yes. Okay. Similarly, if you take location as Mumbai, Mumbai is available at row 5 and row 6, and the decision is no. That means in the 2 of the location wherever the Mumbai is present, the decision is no. So you can say that if the place is Shimla, then decision is yes, and if the place is Mumbai, then the decision is no, right? So in that way it is selected. So this will be added. If the location is Shimla, then the decision is yes, and if the location is Mumbai, then a decision is no. Again, this is one rule set, one rule which has been added into R, that is rule set R, capital R. And if you observe in the row 7, in row 7 what you can take is, you have what, the place type and weather. Place type is, if the place is beach and the weather, here weather is windy, then the decision is no. Okay, so here we have selected, because if I consider two attributes, so there is no ambiguity here, so you can use the place type as well as weather. So you can find that if a place type is beach and the weather is windy, then the decision is no. So here what we have taken is, we have derived what, the rules. Okay, so that is rule 1, rule 2 and so on up to rule 5 we have taken. So all these rules are being taken into rule set capital R. Okay, so this is how something which we have taken, that means we have performed with the help of inductive learning. So this is how inductive learning refers to. Okay, so with this I have concluded this today's session. Thank you.